Due to injuries and ineffectiveness, Bruce Cassidy continues to jumble lines, and one such area of concern that stood out to our very own Chris Golick is an area that is the left winger position. We'll talk about that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast. And please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is Locked On Golden Knights. We are brought to you today by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Chris, as we said there in the open, one area perhaps of weakness for the VGK, the left winger position. How many players have started at left wing precisely this season?
We've had 5 so far, I believe. Barbashev, Cotter, Dorofeev when there's been injuries, Will Carrier, and Brett Hutton, I don't believe I've said yet.
Yeah, that is on the second line, of course, and we recall William Carrier, right, scoring a couple of goals in the recent loss to Carolina. Now has 7 points, 5 goals, a pair of goals again that ended in Carolina a 20-game goalless streak, if you will. He missed 3 games at Florida, Anaheim, and LA before playing in Monday's outdoor game, and he was the latest addition, right, to that second line at the left wing position.
Yeah, that was a head scratcher. I mean, there's a couple head scratchers about that game, but that was the head scratcher before the puck dropped. Carrier had missed a few games, like you said, and then, okay, we're going to put you up on the second line, go get him. Like, okay, well, hold on a second here. So that was one that was hard to wrap my head around. Carrier last season, to be fair, was on pace for a number of points that I guess would have made it a little more appetizing had he had a more regular second line role. I mean, he was on pace for 23, 22 goals last season and probably 35 to 40 points, which, I mean, still those aren't even great numbers, but definitely better than the 12 goal pace that he's on this year had he played all 82 games. So yeah, I mean, it's something that's been on my mind for a minute now, but you hope that there's enough scoring coming from other places in the lineup. I mean, no lineup's going to be perfect, right? No one's going to have 4 lines where you're never going to say, okay, there's an issue here, or there's no issues here. Last year, obviously, the third line, which we anticipated coming out of camp, was going to be an issue. And I think that was a hope where Phil Kessel was going to have a little more points than what he did. And obviously, that didn't necessarily work out as best as anyone would have wanted. So here we are again. It's not that the Golden Knights necessarily have a line 3 problem as much as they have a line 2 left wing concern.
Yeah, it is a concern there. And with Carrier moving up to the second line, Brett Hutton, right, was at the left wing position on line 4,
which is fine.
Right?
which is fine. I mean, Hutton, Cotter, Carrier. None of those players, in my estimation, is a traditional second line left winger. Carrier and Hutton, I mean, Hutton has a little more skill, of course, but for lack of a better term, they're kind of the same player. They're both they're both physical. They're both going to score some points every now and then. They're not bad players by any means, just not necessarily your typical second line left wing. Paul Cotter has the best potential to morph himself into that role, but 5 goals, 10 assists, I believe, is his stat line right now on the season. Yeah, 5 and 10, limited or no time on the power play. Same can be said about his penalty kill, limited or no time on the penalty kill. That's a skilled position. Not that Cotter's not a skilled player, but Cotter in a third line or even a fourth line role is a much better spot for him. So this leaves one player we haven't mentioned yet, Pavel Dorofeev.
Yeah, your guy.
18 points or 18 games only.
18 games, yeah.
3 goals, 5 assists. So 8 points. Definitely had some chemistry, if you will, when he was with William Karlsson in that line for a minute. So basically, if you're looking at his adjusted goals right now, 18 games played, 3 goals scored, 18, 36, 54 times 5 and change, on pace for what, 15 to 18 goals. But that's also, he's been all, through all the lines and stuff like that, through the second and third line. If Dorofeev was consistently out there in a second line left wing role, I think 18 to 21 goals is probably a reasonable floor, with the potential for him to even go up from there. But Cassidy is going with, bigger and physicality and, in his opinion, possibly more responsible players in that role. We'll see if that changes or not.
Well, Dorofeev, I think, needs more reps. You get the same feeling?
I think he's capped out at the AHL. I don't think if he was to, I don't think he even has a path to the AHL, because if they put him on waivers, obviously someone would pick him up in a heartbeat. But let's just pretend for a second he went down to the AHL and, put up 65 points in 56 games or however many points they play. What is that really going to do for him at this point? And looking at Hutton's output in particular, why not Dorofeev taking more game time from Hutton? Not saying Hutton's a bad player by any means, but Dorofeev up there in that second line left wing role on a daily basis would help whatever line he was on. That would have been the Stevenson line a lot. But a lot of times on the depth charts that they pass out at T-Mobile Arena, you're seeing the Stevenson line or the Karlsson line kind of going up and back between which line is the second and third line right now. So however you want to look at that, but I'm with you. I think long story longer, Dorofeev needs more reps, and the team needs to see what his potential really is at the NHL level. They know what he is. They know who he is at the AHL level. They do.
Did they send, did you see the other day, VGK recalled Dyson Mayo?
You must be on Cap Friendly as well. I have Cap Friendly open. I was going to make a note about that.
I had a note on my phone about it the other day, and I was just curious what that was all about.
Extra defensemen, because the Golden Knights only had 6 defensemen in Seattle, if I had to guess.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, no,
I'm pretty sure he's a defenseman. Yeah, that had to be in case of emergency break glass. I'd have to assume that's what the story was there.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. And also, defensively now, Alec Martinez still on that third line defensive pairing, right?
I think he was shuffled throughout the game a little bit, but yes, that's where he started the game.
Yeah. How much longer, too, will Caden Korczak be out?
He was in a boot last time we saw him downstairs. So, that's not a good sign, unfortunately. I want to look at Martinez. I want to look at his game logs right now. Sorry, I'll twist it up here. Let's see.
Yeah, even though we're on left wingers, here we go.
Let's put Martinez on the left wing. I
think that'd be great.
He's got a good shot. Martinez. All right, let's see. I want to see what his minus numbers look like on his game logs right now. It's probably not going to be good. All right, Seattle, he was even. Kings, he was even. -2 Anaheim, +1 against Florida. That's a bad game. That's actually not a bad thing there. And then -1, -1. His plus-minus actually isn't terrible. We talked about Pietrangelo, and 7 of the last 10 games, he's been on the minus side of things. So,
but he's playing so well.
He's chewing up minutes. You got to give anyone credit who's able to be out there for 25 minutes a game. But at some points, we talked. This is probably the time last year.
Defensively, he's not playing well in front of the net.
We probably had a segment about this time last year about Pietrangelo's minutes and will it come back to bite him and stuff like that. And what's Cassidy going to do? I think there's Braden Pahal is a distant 9th defenseman on the team, meaning Korczak has definitely passed him on the depth charts. So now you're going to see even less minutes, and who's going to get those minutes because Theodore's not there. Alec Martinez, isn't getting the bulk of the minutes. So you're having Pietrangelo, normally a 22-minute a game player, becoming a 26-minute a game player. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Mhm. Coming up next, Ben Hutton signed a contract extension over the break, and we've yet to talk about that and perhaps an impact that it might make on VGK free agents. We get into that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Right now, you can score, and during this NFL season, with America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better way to get into the game than right now. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, and they pay out right after the games. And of course, you can bet on the point spreads, on player props, on totals, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the National Football League. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. I was going to say this Tuesday edition, but it's Wednesday already. We missed a day in there, right? These short weeks. Okay, we've had enough of that already. Don't forget, on Fridays, it's WTF with the Friday. On Saturdays, the Chris and Chris show takes over the airwaves, and that's on the YouTube channel. It's an exclusive there, so please subscribe today. You like that?
I do like
Okay.
that. I like that. It's fun.
Okay, so during the Christmas break, you were away, and I was eating candy canes. We saw that Ben Hutton signed a 2-year contract extension worth $975,000 AAV, $1.95 million total, even though the NHL salary cap increases by $4.2 million to $87.7 million this upcoming year. Does Hutton's signing take any money away, Chris, we had texted each other about this, from any of the VGK free agents? And that list could include Marchessault, Stevenson, Carrier, who we talked about. Again, these will become, Carrier is an unrestricted free agent. Are we going to hear you in defending your guy, Kelly McCrimmon? Will he be saying once again and talking, we're going to keep this band together, like the band? Nice little segue there. Okay. But what happens now? Is there some sort of a ripple effect with signings, or does this take away from any of the free agents?
It's only $1 million. I mean, 975 million just for conversation purposes, which is the exact same what his contract has been. So theoretically, in the grand scheme of things, Hutton's contract is worth less next season than what it's worth now. So I don't know. I mean, I've seen some reports suggesting that Hutton's contract signing means there is certain to be a ripple effect, as you stated. And I'm not sure that's necessarily going to be the case. I mean, the Golden Knights need 9 defensemen. Now, Korczak has the two-way eligibility, whereas next year he might not have that two-way eligibility. So that might certainly play in my opinion, even more than the extension will. Alec Martinez, that's obviously where we're going to put our attention first and foremost. Martinez, should he decide to continue to be an NHL player, I don't think his next AAV is going to be $5.25 million. At least it's not going to be in Southern Nevada. No disrespect to him, but be 36, 37 years old and 1,000 more block shots on his resume. And, we're seeing it this season as far as the number of games he's able to play based on just a long and grueling and warrior type of career. It's catching up with them. It took this long. I don't know how it took this long, but it's taken this long. Does that mean that, Pahal will be around? Obviously, his contract is too inexpensive. McNabb 2.8 is a bargain. Nick Hague 2.2 is good money.
Dorofeev, right, is a free agent, I think.
Well, Dorofeev, yeah. I'm starting with the defenseman right now first, just looking at what happens. No, looking at the free Dorofeev's RFA, so he's not going anywhere next season. The players who are in line for a raise, I think, is what we'll target first. Amadio's making $762, which I think is even below the NHL minimum. All that happened, but
That's awful.
Amadio, he's definitely going to have his first 7-figure yearly AA. One of it's his first, but he's definitely going to have over $1 million deal. There's not a doubt in my mind about that on a single year basis. Will Carrier 1.4 right now? What is he worth? I mean, with his injuries and his goals, obviously Carrier's agent's going to be banging the drum for the version of Carrier that was on pace for 23 goals last season, but anyone signing him is going to say he plays 50 games a season. So that's going to be the argument.
Did he have 16 goals last year? Didn't he have career high?
He had last season 16 goals, 9 assists, 25 points, but 56 games.
Yeah.
You adjust that to an 82 game season, which he's never played 82 games, but just if you do, he paced for 22, 23, maybe even 25 goals. I don't know. He was playing remarkable and a lot of game winners too, from what I recall. Yeah, so that's going to be the argument that happens between the general manager and obviously his agents.
Who's the general manager? The general manager.
McCrimmon or whoever, whatever. I was not necessarily saying our general manager.
Your bestie.
My bestie, yes. So working uphill here, we'll stop the discussion of Chandler Stevenson and Jonathan Marchessault. Does Ben Hutton getting $1 million of the $86 million payroll have an effect on what's going to happen with one or both of them?
Wasn't it?
87.7. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. I was close.
No, that's
I didn't want to go over. Price is right.
Good. You're cap compliant.
I am cap compliant. Yes, I am cap compliant. But long story longer, Marchessault $5 million AAV this year. Stevenson 2.7. What's that?
Marchessault.
Oh, yeah, $5 million right now for Marchessault. We'll see. I mean, again, can Marchessault get greater than $5 million outside of Vegas? I definitely think so. Yeah. If things keep going bad for Vegas, this is another discussion, Tony. We'll start planning our shows. Let's just say January is a bad month. Let's say January is an under 500 month, and the Golden Knights are third, maybe even fourth in the Pacific. That's when you start seeing stuff about Marchessault and Stevenson and Carrier. And, the Golden Knights could potentially make moves with those players while still being a Stanley Cup contender next season. So that could be another show topic for another time.
I'm just curious. Marchessault sometimes this season, and you probably do have a better gauge of this. At times this season, he doesn't seem like he is the same player, only like from a mental aspect. Perhaps, could this be weighing on him some, do you think? Being without a contract or a contract expiring at the end of the season?
Someone should ask him about that, shouldn't they?
I think I've got the right person for the job. No, seriously, it just feels as though at times he's just lagging a little bit behind. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but
there's a business to this, and anyone who doesn't acknowledge the business doesn't know what they're talking about. Does the fact that Marchessault is unemployed, call it, looking at unemployment this time next season, he'll get signed by someone, but his contract expires. Marchessault's got a large family. You see there's the human element, guys. So many people like to forget about this, but especially someone like Marchessault, not to saying it's less important for someone who is not a family man, but he's got 4 or 5, I don't know the exact number. He has a lot of kids, and that stuff is important. Definitely. Marchessault's been in Vegas since 2017, 2018, after spending parts of his career in, multiple teams for short stints. So yeah, that stuff certainly does matter. And at that time, he either might not have had kids or had less kids. So this stuff certainly does matter to anyone. And could it be affecting his play? I mean, it's a variable. Is it the reason? Well, I mean, he's having a good season, right? What's he on? He's pacing for 60 points again, I think, which is about what his career numbers are. And should the Golden Knights qualify for the playoffs? Amazing what a couple of weeks has changed. But Marchessault will be one of the players that does carry this team, regardless of how deep they do go in the playoffs.
He's on pace for 30, right? 30 goals again.
I'll tell you in 10 seconds if you want to blab about. Or I got it right. I got it right here.
No,
All
it's
right,
got to
March
be.
is so 17 goals.
Yeah.
He's only got 27 points,
Yeah.
38 games times
Yeah.
2. So he's right on pace for 60 points. He's right
Yeah.
on pace for
And
60 points,
he's
injuries pending, of
typically
course.
an automatic 30 goal scorer. So I
Yeah, and
think
he's right on that number too. I mean, he
that's
might be
crazy.
he's on
He's
pace
on the
for
number.
36, 37
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah. He's on that number and perhaps surpassing it. But I definitely think about him. And then Stevenson, if you had,
Jekyll and Hyde right there.
yeah, but if you, for some reason, again, perhaps it's weighing on him. I don't know. There's something different about Stevenson this season. He's not finishing the way he was before. Um, he was a guy that I thought, was the MVP of this team about this time last year, a couple of seasons ago. I thought he was one of the
Season
leaders on this
5,
team.
remember how well he carried the team too? Unfortunately,
Yes,
they didn't get to the playoffs,
absolutely.
but he was huge that year.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on Stevenson and getting re-signed with VGK?
So Stevenson right now, 34 games played, 18 points, 6 goals. Last season, 65 points, 64 points the season before that. So his numbers adjust right now. He's pacing for 43 to
Yeah, he's
45
low.
points. But
Yeah.
one streak, I mean, you look at Barbashev, how he turned his season around. So it doesn't take much for Stevenson to get back on that 60-point pace. He might be a few games less because he's played a few less games than some of the other players. But point being, he can still get on that pace. What does this mean for his next contract? That's obviously what the purpose of this segment is right now. And Stevenson, what do we say? 275 is his number right now. It's at an absolute bargain.
Yeah,
I
that's a
mean,
bargain.
Stevenson can, I think, easily double that AAV next season, whether it's in Vegas or not. That's obviously the fair question. And, you know, with the salary cap going up, I mean, this is where the Golden Knights can certainly get creative. You look at players like someone like a Denisenko, what they're doing down in the AHL. Brendan Brisson should be in the AHL this time next year, hopefully
Jeez.
with the Golden Knights.
One of
We'll
these
see
days
what
he'll be
happens. Yeah, so point being is these are players that might fill some voids, and that could also leave the Golden Knights should they decide to move on from a March or so and a Chandler Stevenson. Yes, it could happen, folks. It could happen. I know what the comments are going to be, but it's something that has potential to happen, whether it's via trade, which I doubt, or just simply free agency. If it happens, all of a sudden the Golden Knights have $7.75 million plus an additional $4 million in cap space. That's $10-11 million right there. That leaves them $9.5 million for a possibly big free agent signing. I don't know, but I guarantee you that McCrimmon is thinking much deeper about this than anyone watching this podcast right now. And it's on his mind.
We have an editor's note just in. Editor's note. The All-Star game's not in Florida. That was last year, you knucklehead.
Toronto. I got
Toronto.
a comment too.
Yeah, it's in Toronto. So that's our disclaimer. We can't be. Yeah.
Another segment. What nonsense are they going to do outside that completely kills the buzz this year? Because they like to do that every year.
It's not an excuse. It's a circumstance. That's why I screwed up first time this year. Okay, coming up next.
First time you screwed up January 3rd. You screwed up more in the last 3 days.
Coming up next, can the Pacific Division get 5 teams into the playoffs? Our discussion comes your way next, right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. Gametime has deals on tickets right now, right up until the start of each and every event, and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. You can find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals and tickets for everything for the Vegas Golden Knights and football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and much, much more. With zone deals, you get to pick the section, and Gametime will pick the seats for you, and it's an average of 18% savings. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use the redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest priced, guaranteed. We are back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick reporting from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Don't forget to follow us on X too, at TD Chris G. That's him. I am at Tony Dasco. Haven't been mentioning it that much because it just, I can't handle all the new followers, that we get from this show. And don't forget Fridays, WTF, what the Friday said. Oh, he shook me off the first time.
Well, I thought you were going to say something interesting.
For me? Who are you?
I don't know. You got my attention. You had a build up. You're usually.
I don't know where I was going.
You usually have when you build up. I listen. And you let me down on that one.
I did let you down, and the listeners and viewers as well.
Well, they're used to it from us.
Please jump on the WTF train. We've had some really good ones the past few weeks. Primarily, most of them about goaltending, I would have to say, and pretty
low hanging fruit right now. But yeah.
That is low hanging fruit. Okay, Logan hanging fruit.
Oh, that's not nice. That's not nice.
That wasn't good. Nice. Okay. What do you think about 5 teams from the Pacific Division? Shut up, Tony. Making it into the playoffs, and who would those teams be?
I'll talk now. Okay, I wasn't sure if you were gonna keep going or not. I mean, I think the first thing we're gonna look at is what teams can we comfortably predict being in the playoffs, starting in the Central: Colorado, Winnipeg, Dallas. I say Winnipeg with a little strangeness there because they're not a team I expected. Connor Hellebuck is playing on another universe right now. Will it last for another, 40 whatever games are left? We'll see. But I'm pretty comfortable saying Colorado, Winnipeg, Dallas. Going to the Pacific, I'm pretty comfortable saying Vegas, Vancouver, LA Kings. So that's 6 teams right there. The bubble teams right now in the Central: Nashville, Arizona making some noise. Awesome season they're having right there. Blues have fallen off after being, somewhat around a playoff spot. Minnesota, Chicago, we're not even going to spend too much time on right now. So Central fringe teams: Nashville, Arizona. Pacific fringe teams: Edmonton, Seattle. Personally, I don't see a world that exists where Edmonton's not going to be there. They've been in a much better spot since they've changed coaches. They're still who they are. Let's be clear about this, but their goals against are better than what they've been in this run. I saw a stat a while back. If I remembered it, it'd be a lot better, but they're playing much better defensive hockey. If this is, we're about 2 months ahead of schedule, but I said if the Oilers can find out a way to play defense and have good goaltending, no one in the NHL can stop them. And I'll double down on that statement this year. They couldn't play defense or have good goaltending last year, so that's why the Golden Knights beat them, obviously. So Edmonton, I will comfortably slot in. So now basically Seattle, Nashville, or Arizona for that last and 8th playoff spots. And Seattle, I mean, you look at what they're doing. They're 7-1 or 7-2, 7-1,
1-5 straight.
Yeah, 1-5 straight. I mean, 7-1-2 in the last 10. And again, they were 2 goals away from going against the Golden Knights in the Western Conference Final. So there is a very logical path for Vancouver, Vegas, LA, Edmonton, and Seattle to be in the playoffs. And then, I mean, you can make a case for any one of those teams to win the Stanley Cup. And then on the Central, Colorado, Winnipeg, and Dallas. I mean, the Western Conference all of a sudden became a murderer's row.
Yeah, there's a huge logjam there. And Colorado, I don't know, they're not consistent at all. They've had some really rough spots. Georgiev is the goaltender I told you he would be a couple of seasons ago when he came over from the Rangers.
Ottinger, I think, is injured for Dallas still, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Ottinger's out. Yeah, there's some goaltending issues there. Last night we saw Vancouver with a win, and so they go 2 points up on the VGK. I think they have a game or 2 in hand.
One game.
The Kings, 1 game in hand. And the Kings with now 3 or 4 games in hand, they can't capitalize. 4 games in hand. They can't capitalize on the VGK, slumping and everything, because they came up with a loss. They were blanked last night by Toronto.
This is why I'm sorry.
It's crazy. No, it's getting to be really tight. And that's the thing about the Pacific Division. It's like VGK slumping, right? But none of these teams can take advantage of that and I can't understand why.
This is why we call them 4-point games. The Golden Knights beat the Los Angeles Kings last week. Golden Knights have 49 points. Kings have 45. If the Kings win that game in regulation, the Kings have 47 points. The Golden Knights have 47 points. That's why these interdivisional games are so important right now. And yeah, that's a fair point. The Kings, unless they're on the road, they're a different team right now. And the Golden Knights, as poor as things have been going, they're still 2 standings points, I guess is a better way to say that, out of leading the Pacific Division. Obviously, the points percentage is a little bit lower, but still, whatever. I mean, they're definitely in the mix right now. So the positive side, I mean, we've been dumping on them pretty much the whole show, which honestly is fair, but the positive side is, as bad things have been, the Golden Knights banked a lot of points in those first 20 games.
Yeah,
that
for
was
sure.
so necessary. And now that the season is progressing, we're seeing how important it is just to get a single point, just find paths to get a point, which is why I felt the Seattle Kraken Winter Classic outdoor game, it was a bad game, yes, but there was still a path for the Golden Knights to potentially walk away from that game with the points. You got 2 posts, you got an Eichel breakaway, and Logan Thompson had a couple of gave up a couple of gimmies. If just one of those little things changed, we could be talking about a different game. And then it's the type of game where the boys in the locker room are saying, if we're not playing our best hockey, we're finding ways to get points and win. And that's okay. But I mean, listen, Tony, they got practice right now. The Golden Knights got a lot of practice coming up. So this is going to be a big month. It's going to be a big month. It's going to be a big month.
No, well, again, 6 of 7 at home, 7 of 8 at home, I should say, for the VGK.
We need to do a monthly points prediction. I know the month already started, but let's do a second segment tomorrow, points prediction.
Okay, this is how we plan our show, folks. We didn't do a points prediction like we typically do. You were a half a goal over. I was a half a goal under, right? Was that this November? What month? Whatever month that was.
For points, you mean points? We've been right around it. I mean,
we've been right around
it. It's not hard to handicap it. I mean, just it's hard to predict it, but not hard to handicap.
Right. And then, Vancouver, to me, that's an interesting team. Are they going to still be in first place? They have
they're going to be in the top 2, top 3, I think. Also,
you think so? You think they'll stick up there? 7
Thatcher Demko, Quinn Hughes, Elias Pettersson. I mean, we can go on and on and on. They're
and good coaching
they've built for this for a long time. I felt the Canucks for the last 2 years were stuck in that middle ground of taking the next step to getting to where they are now, or taking a step down so they can just blow it all up and rebuild it. And obviously, it took probably 4 years longer than anyone in Vancouver would have anticipated, because they've been stockpiling draft picks and stuff. But it's all, it's starting to come together. Major League, it's starting to come together.
Just keep in mind, folks, that it does, and to your point, Chris, every point does matter, because people forget it came down to the final game of the season last year. And VGK
it's going to come down to the final game of the season this year.
And the final game of the season there to win not only the top spot in the Pacific, but in the Western Conference.
Tony, you're not going to like this. The Golden Knights, 3 of their last 4 games, Minnesota Wild, not good.
Are at home. Rigged.
All 4 of the last games are at home.
This is great.
The last games are at home.
It's so friggin' rigged.
It goes Minnesota, Colorado. That could be a really tough game.
I thought your resolution was to be kind to me.
No, that was not my resolution. I would never say such horse manure. Blackhawks and Anaheim. 3 of the last 4 games are Minnesota.
No.
What are the? Hold on, wait. We're not done yet. The show continues. I got to get the league standings.
No.
Okay, so the Golden Knights last 3 games of the year.
Oh my gosh. No.
Minnesota Wild, 26th ranked team. Chicago Blackhawks, 31st ranked team. Anaheim, 30th ranked team. Oh Lordy. So if the Golden Knights are within 8 points of the division, they're still going to win it coming down to that last week.
First pen throw of the year. Thanks for triggering.
First pen throw of the year. Nice. Let's go.
We appreciate everyone tuning in, especially our everydayers. Thank you so much. Of course, don't forget Friday's WTF, Saturdays the Chris and Chris show, and much more shenanigans. Coming up on tomorrow's show, we'll preview VGK against Florida. This should be a fun rematch and a lot of physicality, as they say in the game.
Fun game. It's going to be a fun game tomorrow night.
It will be a fun game.
I might venture into the Panthers locker room after the game tomorrow.
Love it. Do it. And make sure that you ask the difficult question of Marcia, so if it's weighing on him with the contract.
I won't. That's not a game question. That's a practice
I
question.
know, it's a practice question. Okay, for my man, Chris Golick, Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. We'll see you again tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Take